So friends, good afternoon to the next edition of the VDMA CEO's Thought Leadership Series. And pleasure for me to invite Mr. Gerd Hoefner today, who is with us on this edition. Friends, since 2015, Gerd Hoefner is the Managing Director and President at Siemens Healthcare Private Limited and oversees operations that span sales and services for South Asia, manufacturing and R&D in India. His main responsibility is for Development Center at Siemens Healthineers, a global R&D organization that drives excellence in product lifecycle management with teams in India and Slovakia. In 2002, Gerd moved to Bangalore to head the software engineering department at Siemens Information Systems Limited, and he went on to become the managing director of the company. Gerd received a master's degree in computer science with business economics from Friedrichs Alexander University Erlangen-Nuremberg, Germany. So pleasure to have you with us on this edition, Gerd. Hearty welcome to you.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you, Rajiv.
Right. Gerd, we know that the last 7 to 8 months have been totally unprecedented. In fact, COVID has impacted 218 countries globally. More than 65 million people have been infected and almost 1.5 million people have died due to the pandemic. People call it also the black swan of 2020 because the global economy is seeing a recession. Gerd, let me start with you. What was the impact of COVID-19 on Siemens Healthineers in India as well as globally?
Well, I can only speak, let's say, for my area of responsibility, which is the software R&D in-house development. And well, for us, surprisingly, I would say the impact was minimal. It was, if you look at the development center, we are about 2,600 colleagues, close to 400 in Slovakia, 2,200 in India. And we transitioned on March 16th from work to office to work from home. And initially, everybody expected a significant loss of productivity, some hiccups. And in software R&D, there are many activities where people felt they can't be executed in a distributed way, so that people have to sit together, for example, for program increment planning or specific workshops. And somehow after, let's say, a few hiccups in the beginning, we managed the transition extremely well. And in terms of productivity, I would say in some areas, it's even higher than compared to work from office. And I personally talked to colleagues from our R&D organization more or less on a daily basis, together with our head of HR, where I listen to them, how they are doing, how they are coping with the situation, also what they think about the situation when it comes to work. And well, feedback is that people have adjusted to the situation. What someone also needs to keep in mind, I mean, you know how the situation is in Bangalore when it comes to traffic. Most of our employees, they spend anything between 1 to 3 hours every day to commute. And some of the time they also give back to the company. So that means they work 1-2 hours more. On the other hand, they also say that they have more time to spend with the family or to do things that they like, to follow their hobbies. And these are a number of the factors that have contributed to the situation. When it comes to business, I mean, if you look at it at Siemens Healthineers, we announced our quarterly results at the beginning of November. And one also needs to keep in mind the industry we are in. Our industry is healthcare. And there, the numbers, I mean, there wasn't a decrease, but there was also an increase. So overall, the business numbers were stable at the same level like the year before, which is special, I would say, looking at the current situation, but it also is related, like I said before, to the fact that we operate in the healthcare sector per se. which is essential at the current situation.
Right. But that's good to hear that the numbers are good in the healthcare, of course, since you are in the healthcare sector, because otherwise, the industry is facing a lot of issues, the manufacturing industry, the engineering industry per se.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gerd, you've been in India now for a good, almost, I would say, 18 years. You're completing 2 decades in India. What are the transformations you have seen in the last, if we look at the last maybe 8 to 10 years, Gerd? And if you could highlight maybe 2 aspects from, in your view, where India could have done better, and 2 aspects which you feel have improved in India, Gerd.
What has significantly improved, and again, I'm mirroring it at the our organization. Over time, the kind of responsibility we are getting as an internal service provider has significantly improved. I mean, several years back, we operated more or less as an extended workbench, where I always, being in software, I always used to call this mode of operating, or that we are the coding slaves, so the ones who get, in principle, the instructions from the headquarters and simply then do the implementation. That has drastically changed. So we are, in the meantime, an integral part of the R&D operations of our company, up to an extent that we also have, let's say, complete responsibility for certain products. So this is, let's say, a significant improvement for the better. Another area, if I look at it not in the area of software R&D, but manufacturing, we also had a strategy project specifically for India from Siemens Healthineers. And one of the decisions was to establish India as a center of competence for emerging market products, including manufacturing. And in the meantime, we also manufacture in India, not only local for local, but also local for global. And there's one product, just to mention it, which we launched last year in January, that is a X-ray modality, a so-called C-arm for surgery. And this product has been completely designed, developed, and manufactured in India. Like I said, we launched it here on the market in January 2019. And in the meantime, our headquarters, they have taken the decision to also take it to global markets like Africa, Latin America, South Europe. And so this is the general strategy which I see. And in the meantime, we have 4 business areas which committed to start production in India, which is also, let's say, a significant step ahead of us. And you probably have read the news, which we announced 4 weeks ago, that we're going to invest 160 million euro, which is 1,300 crore of rupees in India, to set up a new campus with an innovation hub. And that will also be, let's say, with a factory for those 4 businesses which I've just mentioned, which will closely cooperate with our R&D units. If you ask me what could be better in India, well, there are a number of things. One, of course, if you look at the city like Bangalore, is the whole infrastructure. I mean, we still have a bus system which we operate by ourselves, like many, many other companies, where we collect our employees across the city in the morning, bring them home in the evening. We have to do this because public transport in a city like Bangalore, I wouldn't say it's not existing, but it's not up to the mark what you would expect from a city of that size, and also with such kind of technology companies that are across the city. That is one topic. And the second topic, of course, is the whole topic of bureaucracy. It's improving, but still, I mean, it can be much, 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 much better from my point of view.
Right, right. So I think one good part is, Gerd, from what you have mentioned, is that India has come much more in focus in the whole global planning or global strategy of Siemens Healthcare. So I think that's a positive development, and further investment that you're doing in the Indian market also, I think, is shows the confidence of Siemens in the Indian market. That's why this investment is doing. So I think these are all very positive steps forward.
It's in confidence into the Indian market, but not only the Indian market, it's also the Indian ecosystem. Yeah, because
Right.
what we also announced as a part of our investment, that we would like to establish our new campus, which we have to build as an innovation hub. But globally, we will have from Siemens Healthineers 4 innovation hubs in China, in Germany, in the USA, and in India. And one of the reasons, of course, is the availability of talent. And a part of the Innovation Hub will also be a center for digitalization. If you look at the figures, I mean, India is home to the second largest hub when it comes to digital talents. It's the number 3 when it comes to startup companies. And those are all facts, I mean, you can't ignore. And it also offers a lot of opportunities, and this is why we would like to participate in those kind of opportunities which exist in India.
Right, right. Gerd, tell us a little bit about the journey of Siemens Healthineers in India. And in 2016 also, Healthineers was carved out of the Siemens Healthcare. So what was the trigger for this change, and how has this helped actually in the growth of the organization, Gerd?
Well, let me start with the journey of Siemens Healthineers, or the healthcare business of Siemens, as it started initially. Our journey in India started in 1927. Yeah, so that means in the meantime we are present in India since 93 years. And this is when we started our sales operations in India. So in 1927, we sold the first X-ray modality on the Indian market.
Wow.
Manufacturing, we started in 1959, so 61 years ago. And software R&D from India for Siemens Healthcare started in 1994, so 26 years in the meantime. Usually, if people ask me what are the 3 key figures you should keep in mind when talking about India and Siemens Healthineers, it's a 90, 60, 30. So 90 years of sales, 60 years of manufacturing, 30 years of software R&D.
Right.
The decision to manage Siemens Healthcare separately was taken by the Siemens board back in 2015, so 5 years ago. But if you look at it, I mean, we are still a Siemens company. We also Siemens Healthineers. We have the name Siemens within our brand. Also, in terms of shares, I mean, Siemens is our major shareholder. In the meantime, we are listed independently at the stock exchange in Frankfurt, but our major shareholder with 85% is still Siemens. So it was a decision from the Siemens board to make the company more agile. And if you look at the Siemens structure today, we have Siemens Healthineers, we have Siemens Energy, and we have Siemens AG. So the idea was really to make the company more flexible, that you can quicker react to the specific requirements of the individual markets. And if you look at it, the businesses we have within Siemens, like digital industries, like building technologies, energy, the healthcare business, those kind of business, it's a relatively diverse business where the synergies amongst the individual businesses are minimal. And that's probably one of the reasons why the board decided to run the company in a way that energy and especially the healthcare business have more freedom to react to their specific requirements and needs. And that's why we have this structure in principle with 3 Siemens companies, Siemens AG, Siemens Energy, and Siemens Healthineers.
Right. Thank you. Gerd, now Siemens has had an exceptional track record when we talk about engineering and scientific excellence. What we would request you if you could highlight some of the new developments that is happening at in India for Siemens Healthineers, if it is not confidential.
Well, if you look at the whole topic of digitalization, let me talk a little bit about the future of healthcare, how it will look like.
Right.
And the future of healthcare will be that you will have a digital twin of yourself,
right,
which you will maybe have on your mobile phone. And the digital twin will answer you the question, how am I? So how am I doing when it comes to my health? What is my fitness status, so to say? And it will also give you an indication when you will have, let's say, some health problems. And imagine the situation that you will become sick. The question then that arises is, how do I get back on a track where I'm again healthy? And this question we will answer with so-called pathway companions. So the future of healthcare are two components. One is the digital twin of an individual, and the other one are the pathway companions. They will be, of course, disease specific. They will tell you what kind of treatment you have to undergo, what kind of therapies you have to undergo that you become healthy again. And those two core components are topics where we work at in India. The journey to the digital twin in principle starts with the analysis of images, for example. This is also something where we are working at the moment in India, that are so-called radiologist AI red companions, which are typically specific to a modality and the body part. For example, we have developed AI red companions for the chest part based on CT scans. The way how it looks like, we have a team of highly specialized colleagues in Princeton in the US, and they develop the algorithms. And the algorithms need to have, let's say, images that are annotated to train the algorithms. That is one part that we're doing out of India today. And then the second thing is, once you have the algorithms trained, you need to make a software-based product out of it. So the whole software development takes place here in India as well. So this is the red companion. Then we have the pathway companion. And then as a long-term vision, the digital twin. And those are topics, let's say, where we actively participate in the development here in India. And in the meantime, in our organization, we have about 500 colleagues who operate, let's say, in the area of digitalization, so-called digital talent, that contribute in making this vision come true in the long run. Of course, it's a long-term vision. When it comes to the red companion, pathway companion, we already do have products on the market. When it comes to the vision of a digital twin, we have success stories today. For example, we have a digital twin of the heart, which our colleagues from the advanced therapies are working at and where we are supporting. But to have, let's say, a digital twin of an individual, this is something which probably will keep us entertained for the next 10, 15, maybe 20 years till this vision really comes reality.
Right. But these are very interesting developments, Gerd. What you mentioned, digital twin, pathway companions. I think this is also speaking about the digitalization in the healthcare sector. And here, just let me ask you one question related to this, Gerd. How do you find the Indian talent pool? Since you mentioned you have almost 2,200 people here in India, 500 working in the digital scenario or area. So how do you find the talent pool here in India in this field, Gerd?
Well, the talent pool is one of the reasons we are here.
Right.
If you look at it, the talent pool in India, I would say it's really amazing. But it also, of course, has to do with the respective size. Yeah, I mean, India is a country with close to 1.4 billion people. You have 500,000 people leaving educational institutes every year. And you also, let's say, have high quality educational institutes like the IITs that can compete worldwide with Stanford, with MIT, and with all these premium institutes. That is one thing. The other thing is, I think, as Siemens or as Siemens Healthineers, we are well known in the country, and we are also being perceived as a very, very attractive employer. As Siemens Healthcare Private Limited, I mean, we just got certified as a great place to work for the third time in a row. And we also have been recognized as one of the 5 best places to work in India in the healthcare industry. So those are all things which makes us, I wouldn't say easy to attract talent, but it makes it easier compared to other organizations. And overall, I would say we really are in a position where I can say that we get the talent that we need for our requirements.
Very good. Gerd, just let me bore a little deeper into this. There is a general perception, although as you correctly mentioned, we have a lot of graduates coming out of high school in India. But then there is always this question of whether they can be employed directly in the industry. Because there's a lot of theory knowledge, the practical knowledge. What is your experience here?
The topic of employability of colleagues who leave educational institutes. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there are 3 arguments usually why people say the young people are not necessarily employable. One is lack of English skills. The second one is lack of technical skills. And the third one is inability to work in teams, so that there's a lack in soft skills. That may be true, but if you look at the number which I've mentioned before, if you imagine that there are 500,000 people leaving educational institutes, if this applies for, let's say, 80% of the population, there are still 20% where it doesn't apply. So that means 20% out of 500,000, that would be 10,000.
Right.
And what we recruit every year, this is about, let's say, 400 or 500 people.
Right.
And usually there are two aspects. From our recruitment to probably 80% are lateral hires, so people who already have experience. And the remaining 20% are people whom we recruit as freshers. So that means our intake as freshers is, depending on the year, about 100 people, sometimes less. Let's say in average anything between 50 to 100 people. And the pool we can choose from are the 10,000 I've mentioned.
Right, right.
Yeah, because we look at those people, I mean, it's clear. If there is really, let's say, a lack of English-speaking ability and all the other aspects which I've mentioned, of course, we search for the respective colleagues, we get the right CVs, and then we focus on those people where we have colleagues who can speak English, who are good, let's say, in their social skills, and who also have the respective competence, and that you can easily figure out if you have the respective tests up front. We, of course, also invest in our people once they join, the domain-specific training, and learning per se is something which is a lifelong experience. We also have a mandate that everybody in our organization gets trained at least for 10 days per year. And that also applies for myself. So I try to learn continuously and improve my personal skills. And everybody, even after people join throughout their lifetime, they will undergo continuous training and have to.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you, Gerd, that learning is a lifelong skill and it continues. Gerd, coming to the healthcare sector in India, Now, we saw some limitations and shortcomings of the healthcare sector in India due to COVID. Actually, if you look at the figures also, India has 0.7 beds per thousand people, which is way beyond the 3.5 beds per thousand people recommended by World Health Organization. And in comparison, US has about 2.9 and China has a ratio of about 3.84. Now, in your opinion, Gerd, what ails the healthcare sector in India and how can this sector be improved?
Well, the improvement, what you've just mentioned in terms of hospitals, in terms of number of beds, this is probably something which has to be taken up by the government. What we can do as a company, I mean, if you look at India, besides the number of beds only, there are three main problems when it comes to healthcare in India. It's the quality of care, it's the affordability of care, and it's the accessibility to care. And I mean, one needs to keep in mind that in India, still 70% of the population live in rural areas. In the major cities, like Bangalore, like Mumbai, like Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, and so on and so forth, I would say the situation when it comes to quality of care, accessibility of care, it's like in any major city in Europe or in the US. So the healthcare system in a city like Bangalore, it's on par with the healthcare system in cities like Munich or Berlin, if I talk about Germany, maybe in some areas even better. But like I said, 70% of the population in India is still in rural areas. So where we look at is to also provide access to quality care in those areas. For example, we have solutions for remote access, telemedicine, and all these kind of topics. The other thing, of course, is also the whole topic of qualification. We just started a pilot from Siemens Healthineers in India, where we contribute in terms of a social business to the education of laboratory technicians in order to increase the availability of skilled personnel. So those are all topics where, from my point of view, the industry, like us, for example, can also contribute to ensure that the quality of care is better, the accessibility of care is better, that we also bring the prices down, and in this way improve the accessibility to care. Like I said, those are all topics we are already working at.
Great. Compliments. I think this is a very good step, Gerd, and I think this is very much needed also in India. Gerd, let's come to the global scenario a little bit. We are seeing, I think, in the last few years, the concept of globalization is changing. In fact, the general perception that we are moving away from open boundaries, open trades, with perhaps national interests being given priority. We've seen that in US, we've seen that in certain countries, other countries also. What are your views here, Gerd, and especially when we talk about the clarion call of Atmanirbhar Bharat in India? How do you perceive that in the complete scenario, Gerd?
Well, if I look at us, Siemens Healthineers, we are a global company. And we also say that we are a global player. We are present in 70 different countries. And our desire in principle is to contribute to the healthcare, to improve the healthcare situation, be it in India, be it in China, be it in the US, be it in Germany. For us, I mean, those tendencies, we also have manufacturing in different countries, so we are spread across the globe. So as a company, for us, I would say there is not necessarily an impact. As an individual, I mean, I would hope that the world is more open and that we are trying to solve problems, global problems, let's say, as a global community. In some areas it works, in some areas it won't work, but it really depends, I think, on the willingness of the global community to look into such kind of things.
Right. If I may just add one more question here, Gerd, is presently when we talk about this Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is, we are talking about self-resilient, self-reliant India. So, is there also any plans of Siemens Healthineers to increase your import content? I do not know presently what is your import content, and sorry, to source locally in India, that you increase the local content.
Like I mentioned earlier, I mean, we already are manufacturing in India. I mentioned the COSFIT, which is the X-ray modality, the C-arm for surgery, which is being manufactured here in India. We are also considering to have other businesses or modalities being manufactured out of our new campus. And there, of course, we are looking into the options to manufacture the things locally. This is a clear strategy, of course.
Okay, great. Coming to the last question, Gerd, let's come back to when, due to COVID, as we mentioned, it's been totally unprecedented. Businesses have been impacted, people have been impacted, and not only financially, but emotionally also. In fact, this is a big challenge for the industry leaders also. And what we would like to request you is to share 3 suggestions from your side for CEOs. How can CEOs navigate their boat in the stormy water of COVID, and how can they be successful in these challenging periods? And I'm sure these suggestions would be of extreme interest to the German CEOs and our viewers also, Gerd.
Well, I think it's not about managing the board. It's about managing the employees in your organization. And here, again, I can only speak for the software R&D organization where I'm directly acting and responsible. The learnings that we have from our organization, I mean, the biggest challenge was the switch from work from office to work from home, to transfer the culture that we had at office also to a culture in a way that we have the same culture in the organization while working from home. The way we did this, number one, we try to virtualize whatever can be virtualized. At the office, usually we have a number of different events, different celebrations, and we celebrate World Environmental Day. We celebrate the Pride Months. We celebrate Kannada Ratchotsava and all these kind of things. We virtualized all these kind of celebrations, and it worked pretty well. Yeah, so we really transferred, I would call it the fun we had at office to fun at work from home. That is one thing. The other thing is the precondition for successfully working from home is trust and empowerment of the employees.
Absolutely.
Because at office, you see your employees all the time, you know exactly what they are doing, more or less. When they work from home, it's not really possible. Yeah? It also means you really have to trust your employees. On the other hand, I have to say our employees have been acting extremely responsible, and the trust is 100% justified. So in this way, I would say we made good progress. And the third topic is a situation like that requires much more communication with the people. So stay in touch with your employees, communicate on a regular basis. What we did, for example, I mean, together with our head of HR, I speak several times a week to a crowd of, let's say, 10 colleagues. And where I primarily, well, I don't speak, I more listen how they're doing, how they're coping with the situation, business-wise, but also, let's say, in their private environment. I send every Sunday evening an email to all our employees where I talk about how I am doing, how I look at the situation with respect to COVID. But I also choose, let's say, a topic where I talk about the kindness, being productivity, being grit. So there are a number of topics I choose, which I usually discuss during the week. with my wife, where we exchanged thoughts. What would it be worthwhile to write about? And in this way, I stay in touch with all our employees. And so this is, let's say, the third aspect. So communication, virtualize whatever is possible, trust into your people, and maybe fourth aspect, try to have fun at work from home in the same way like you have it at the office.
Right. And Gerd, the work from home at Siemens Healthineers, how long, when do you, till how long are you planning to work from home? And is there a possibility or any thoughts of starting physical, being back in the office also?
We assess the situation from time to time. At the moment, I mean, we have announced that we will continue work from home till 11th of January. We are about to assess the situation at the moment and then come with a decision how we slowly get back to office, or if we see the need that we should extend it for some more time. What is, from our point of view, of most importance is the health and safety of our employees. And for that reason, we assess the situation and then take a call. Like I said before, at the moment, it's 11th of January. And by mid of this month, we probably will make an announcement how we will proceed, considering especially the health and safety of our employees, because this is the most important topic.
Right. So thank you so much, Gerd. It was a pleasure interacting with you, and also thanks for sharing your insights. And on behalf of the German Engineering Federation, VDMA, wishing you, your family, as well as all the colleagues at Siemens Healthineers, stay well, stay safe, and stay successful further. So thank you, Gerd, for joining us. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for having me, and stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.